Phantom, let's go crazy.
It's more than music, reporting live with Zay from Kinetic Training. Alright, man, we are back. Oh my God.
What's going on?
It's been a crazy year, man.
Oh, that's a fact. This year has been, I think it's tested all of us.
For sure. So, how you feeling, man? How you doing? Because you know that's like a big post 2020 question to pose to people. You know, how you feeling? How you doing?
I think I always find, I try to find the silver lining in a lot of the things that I go through or experience. So 2020, as we all know, has definitely been, it shook us up.
Facts.
But at the same time, looking at the silver lining, there was a lot of beauty that has come from it, at least for me, at least. From the networks, the mentorship programs that I was a part of, the ability to build my personal life, you know, build my lady.
Facts.
And just take a different perspective and try to remain as humble as possible, because anything at any moment is like, nothing's for sure.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts.
So I'm good, man. I'm blessed.
That's good to hear, man.
And it's always just one foot in front of the other.
Facts.
And that's all we can do.
Congrats on the marriage.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Honeymoon
it's in,
soon.
it's in August, so it's crunch time right now. So
Facts. So now we are at Kinetic Training. For me, the location, you see the backdrop, lovely backdrop. So if you ever want to take a picture or you want to come work out behind us, pull up to Kinetic Training, man. So
the plug is real.
Nah, you know that. So who is Zay or Zay?
Zay's cool.
All right. So who is Isaiah or who's Zay? For me, I know that's a very in-depth question, and you could take it as far as you want. But yeah, so who is Zay?
Zay is someone who's always seeking growth, man, and in the most uncomfortable of situations. And I think that's, you know, going back to my childhood, that's kind of where it stems from. But yeah, man, I've always just been into education. I've always been into learning and growing. Initially, I've always wanted to be a engineer. So when I first started school, I was going for engineering, and that's when we met. So HVCC, and I was going to transfer to RPI. I was going to transfer to RPI, but you know, life happens. It doesn't really work out that way. Found out that that's not the route that I wanted to go. I switched over to business. The goal was always to have a business someday, but what it was exactly, had no idea.
Right.
And then I switched over to social sciences. I wanted to be a psychiatrist at some point.
Engineer to psychiatrist, okay.
Yo, I love human behavior, and I still to this day, I love social interactions. I love understanding why people do what they do. But then I realized there's a significant amount of schooling you need to do.
Significant amount.
And that's
still be in school.
And that's just not something that I was willing to devote myself to at the time.
Facts.
I'm still trying to grow, understand what it was like for me to become my own man. And took a lot of odd and end jobs doing retail, bussing tables at a restaurant. I worked at another company, stocking boxes, doing all sorts. I even worked at a commercial gym, cleaning floors, cleaning bathrooms, and all that.
Yeah, you did all the positions.
Yeah, I've legit been around the block, bro.
so at what point did you realize, okay, well, you know, fitness is my lane and where I want to sit at?
I was always into sports. I always would have considered myself an athlete, even though I didn't look like it. Definitely didn't have a lot of the natural athleticism that most people have as athletes. So I always understood the benefit of hard work. Like, I always loved and enjoy it. Like, I appreciate it because there's a direct relationship there. Like, the harder you work, the more you get or benefit from. So I've always been in the gym. I started lifting when I was like 13, 14.
Word. Was it from like did football shape that mindset or something like that? Was it what type of
Nah,
sports?
I wasn't even. So actually, as even younger, I started martial arts. That was probably my first sport ever. I got into martial arts when I was like 6.
Word.
I had my like junior black belt by the time I was like 11.
Word.
My brother and I was like in like one of the local newspapers for being like the youngest. We did Taekwondo, and we were like the youngest with our junior black belt or something like that. It was years ago. But nah, man, they teach you a lot of fundamentals, respect, discipline, all those kind of character development.
For sure.
I learned from that. Got into soccer, but as I grew up, I just kind of wanted to be. My goal was never like to make it to like NBA or anything.
Right, to go pro.
You know,
yeah.
go pro. Like overseas is what I was settling for. Like I'd be comfortable overseas.
Facts.
And I had to be bigger, stronger, faster. So I started lifting when I was young because I knew that I was going to be undersized.
Facts.
And then I fell in love with the progress because one, like I said earlier, it had a direct correlation. So the more I worked out, the harder I worked, the easier the game felt. So I just kind of continued on that path, and throughout everything that I've ever been through, all the trials and tribulations, the gym was something that was constant for me. You know what I'm saying? Like sun up, sun down, food, no food, like I could always go back to the gym. And when I did so, 225 was always 225. Like it doesn't change. So that's like, looking at it from that lens, it's like, if I couldn't lift it, I knew it was me.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? I couldn't blame a coworker. I couldn't blame
That's a good
my
point.
upbringing. I couldn't blame anybody else. And it really shows you reality.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
And that's kind of segue. I don't know if there's a question later, but it kind of segues to kind of what we do. You know what I'm saying? Like our idea, our vision for kinetic training was always that like if it don't move, it don't work.
Facts.
And that's applicable to even your day-to-day lifestyle. So like, if you can't set goals if you're not gonna be working towards them,
Correct.
It makes no sense.
That's a fact. That was a gem drop. That was a gem drop right there.
Right. So that's, I mean, but yeah, man, I had decided one day that I was, bouncing around 3 different jobs, still not even making enough, and there was a point where the goals and what I sought for myself didn't align with what I was doing.
Yeah, with your future self.
Yeah, and I knew I was bigger than that. I was meant to do more, and I've always been blessed. I think, the people that I've come across and who shine light on me and give me encouragement and they hold me down.
Facts.
A lot of them are like, hey, why don't you be a trainer? And initially, like, somebody try to give you advice, it's almost the initial reaction sometimes is to be defensive.
Of course.
You get
Like, what do
emotional, you
mean?
get defensive,
Like, what? Yeah.
right? Like, so I told,
Human nature.
and especially for some of them who knew what my goal was, and they would try to give me something different. I'm like, yo, why would you do that? Like, that's not. I don't want to be a trainer. I want to be a psychiatrist.
Right,
and it's like,
right.
yeah, but like on your path there, why not try this out? And I said, all right. So I looked into it. I looked at what trainers made, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe that's not it. And then someone's like, well, why don't you just own a gym? And I go,
You said, now you talking.
That's a little different. Okay, maybe look into that. But then I started looking for like prices of equipment and things like that, and I was like, that might be a negative. But it started, man. I was working out at the gym, and I was helping one of my mentors. I was helping her out with one of the issues that she had, with training and being consistent and stuff. And I fell in love with the process. I was like, oh, this is cool. And then she spoke, nothing but good words about her experience, and it just trickled down, and more people started reaching out. And I was like, okay, I could definitely see myself doing it. And it was funny because then I ran into my business partner Jeff. He was working out at a commercial gym, and Chris was working at a commercial gym. And he said, hey, come on to the team. And as a wellness coach, I kind of pretty much was set up where like I'd be helping people in machines and set up programs for like, hey, this is what this exercise does and what body part it works, etc.
The informational type
Yeah. But I wasn't a trainer yet, so I had to go and get certified still and do all that stuff. But
how long was that process?
It's a blur, man. To be honest with you.
So at this point, how many certs do you have?
I only really have one cert,
Right.
because and that's one of the things that we talk about all the time. Because like certifications are good, they're good to go through that process. It's good to go through and to learn from an academic standpoint. But a lot of the certifications don't have application in their process. So
Right.
it's good to get your foot in the door. It's good to get your feet wet,
Yeah.
but it's not the end all be all. I think experience means a lot in this field.
Correct.
And more so than experience is competency,
For sure.
and then having a good team with you.
Correct.
So you can't know everything, you can't do everything. So having good team members behind you that
Facts.
that either have their own specialties to give you a different perspective,
Yep.
or they also have a lot of experience. So
Correct.
either way, you benefit.
So even on that note, so now let's transition into where we're at right now. So Kinetic Training. So this is the second location.
Yep.
You guys just did a remodel. I'll was flashed to a B-roll of the location and. But yeah, so you guys, just got the second location, just got the remodel. So talk about how that transition was, because you said you started off, what was it, 400 square feet?
Yeah, so we were, well, even before then, a lot of people weren't with us through that transition. So we were actually working out of it was a bank, or it was a corporate building.
Wow.
And below that, they had a small little facility that we kind of rented out in a sense. Paid light overhead, and then we would take our clients there down on State Street, like right. Yeah, we were working out there for a while, and then just it didn't really work out. Parking wasn't idea. Time, we were only allotted a certain amount of time. Like we could only get in the building during certain times.
Yeah, yep.
So it served its purpose, but it wasn't the end all.
Yeah.
It wasn't what we were looking for.
It was a good stepping stone, though.
Yeah. So then, I remember one day, Jeff was going on vacation. He said, "Yo, when I get back, things are gonna probably move quick. So you guys are ready." And we looked at. We said, "Yeah, we're ready." And then he came back. We started looking for places, and the next thing you know, we were touring the different buildings, and we found one, and it was definitely small. It was down on Hamilton Street, right off of Lark. It was right in the cut, yeah, it was about 400 square feet. You could jump to the other side.
That's crazy.
It was kind of so small, but yeah, we made it work, man. It was we broke it down into like 3 different sections, and we had. Each trainer kind of had a station when they would work with a client. We all were working full-time jobs and then coming and then working, doing that part-time.
Yep.
And within the year, we actually kind of outgrew the space.
Nice.
With all the clients that we were taking on. At that point, Chris made the leap of faith and he went full-time with just doing training. And then, Jeff and I both were working our other jobs. And then we made the transition up to here. This is about 2,000 square feet.
Nice, congrats.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Bringing applause.
So it was as intimidating as all things are, right? So
Of
anytime
course.
that you make any kind of major change, it's going to be uncomfortable.
For sure.
But I think that because we've already made so many changes, uncomfortable is a normal. So it's like we seek uncomfortable positions because that's the greatest area that
that's how
growth
you
can
level
happen
up.
within. So yeah, we moved in here. It was a big space that we had to outfit. So that was a big, not only cost, but like it's just a different perspective. Like
For sure. From 400 to what? You said 2,000? Yeah,
2,000.
that's crazy. That's how you level up.
But it was all worth it, man. Do it over again 10 times out of 10. I mean, yeah, we would always definitely try to go back and make things better.
Yeah, of course. Some tweaks, yeah, of course.
One of our things is you do what you can with what you have.
Yep.
And that doesn't mean you don't seek for better or you can't do better. It's also just making sure that you don't kill yourself over it.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Correct.
there's no perfect moment to do anything ever. So
you got to do it to know that.
Yes,
though. Yeah,
exactly. You got to go through the process. So we wouldn't have known what it was like to have this big of a space if we didn't have a smaller space.
Facts, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
You wouldn't
So
appreciate this as much. Exactly.
we could have jumped to just this ahead of time. It could have been deeper in water.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's if anybody's listening, if you take one thing from it, appreciate the steps that you take, but make sure you still take more steps.
Facts. That's another gem.
So
all right, so now so how many trainers are in the space? We got my guy Chris. He's getting a workout in the back as we speak.
Yeah.
Feel me? So talk about the members of the team
Copy.
and like even what they do as well.
So we have so I guess founders, if for lack of a better term, is be myself, Chris, and Jeff.
Yep.
We all have our own little niches or specialties. So Jeff being a doctor in physical therapy, Chris has his master's in applied nutrition, and myself with a strength and conditioning background. We all kind of collectively provide training for our community, our clientele base, through a numerous amount of ways. So through virtual coaching, templates, small group classes, one-on-one is probably our primary service, our one-on-one training. And then, I mean, that's kind of it. You know, we do the boxing classes, we do some boot camps from here and there. So within the new year, we're going to be hosting or looking to host more of those. But then we also contract out to other clients. So big shout out to Zach and Tatiana. There are other trainers that work out of the space. And that's kind of what we want to really do, man, is in the fitness industry in itself and more specifically locally, there's a lot of people out there doing good things.
Facts.
And we just want to provide assistance any way that we can, whether that's a facility for people to train, whether it's education for people to learn and grow, to be able to provide their clients with the best service, or if it's clients who are looking to come in and really truly see what it is that we do or how we do it, or just, you know, because we try to tell people the goal with fitness, man, is really just to become a better version of yourself.
Facts.
From a mental standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, from a physical standpoint.
Yep.
But usually that comes secondary, which is probably the hardest conversations I have to have
Facts.
with my consultations or my clients in general. It's really that when you truly mentally prepare yourself and get yourself fit, all the other stuff just kind of falls in line.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we love consultations here because we can have that and build that with our clients. It definitely is a benefit of having a private facility in a very small knit community. But I can talk to them and say, "Hey, listen, how was your weekend?"
Facts.
You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like, what did
yeah.
you do?
Be
like,
personable, yeah.
Yeah. So it's more than a business model, and it's more so like we genuinely care. Like, because at the end of the day, man, we talk about sometimes you don't know until you go through it. But the fact that we each have our own stories and we've gone through it, we might as well try to share that with others.
Facts.
So they don't have to necessarily go through it, but they can learn from it in the same kind of sense. So we tell people, like, your mental health should be first and foremost.
Facts.
And then your physical comes in, but you got to do the work. You just got to. There's no way around it. You got to do the work. It's not going to be easy, but it is going to be worth it.
Facts.
And your work could look different than somebody else's work. For some people, that work may look like therapy. And for some others, that work may look like leveling up, stepping their game up. Because some people don't, they talk more than they do.
Correct.
And it looks different. So I tell people, you just got to be real with yourself, first and foremost.
Facts. Facts. All right, so boom. So now I got some workout myths
Oh,
for you. All right?
not the myths. Not the myths.
So in order to get gains, do I have to work out 7 days a week?
Absolutely not. Realistically, I've come to find out, first and foremost, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know.
Facts, yeah.
Or the answer is always going to be it depends, right?
Yep.
Realistically speaking, training age really plays a lot into that in genetics. So how long has this person been lifting for?
Yeah.
And then realistically, our favorite thing is what doesn't get measured doesn't get managed. So you have to have an approach to your training.
Mm-hmm.
All activity isn't good activity.
Facts.
Depending on what that goal is.
Facts.
Right? So if the goal is gain, if the goal is building muscle, you need to do so through a progressive manner.
Mm-hmm.
So what exercise are you using? How many reps? What's the weight?
Yep.
And then you're tracking that from a week-to-week basis.
Word.
And if you know that you're progressing in either one of those things, more than likely, you'll see growth.
All right, so now next question. Do I have to actually like tear my muscles to like build muscle?
So micro tears is something that happens when you do build muscle.
Okay.
But not in a sense of like, so like for example, some people seek to be sore every time they train.
Correct.
And that's not an appropriate approach either. So like some people, you'll see them train to failure and they're busting out as many reps as they can.
Facts.
But that goes back to what I was saying earlier. How do you measure that?
Mm-hmm.
Like going to failure every time you're training is not optimal.
Right.
You want to make sure that you have also the appropriate amount of nutrition and rest to accommodate for that.
Facts.
Right. But tears technically do happen. But that's part of the rebuilding process. So you break down tissue, and then that tissue gets rebuilt into stronger, thicker, denser fibers, et cetera, et cetera. So the goal is always to maintain muscle mass and then decrease body fat to get what most people would deem tone. And I put that in quotation marks because toning isn't a thing, but that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story. So what are some quick, like, this is a side note, what are some quick like pre and post ways to fuel your body? Like a smoothie before, a smoothie after, or like what's
actually, I wouldn't be doing myself and my team justice if I didn't tackle realistically for most of the general population. Meal timing isn't really much of a concern, right?
Okay.
So like your average individual who's trying to work out just to kind of look good aesthetically, you don't need to be optimal when it comes to like, oh, I need a protein shake 30 minutes after my training to meet this anabolic window. It's just not necessary.
Facts.
If you have your set caloric intake and you are abiding by that throughout your day, you're good to go.
Word.
That some people be worried about the wrong things, man. Like, are you eating enough? Yes or no? Yes, you're good.
All right,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
are you, or have you decreased? If the goal is, fat loss. Notice I said fat loss, not weight loss. That's two different things.
Correct.
If that's the goal, make sure that you're in a deficit. Are you in your deficit? Yes or no? And then we make changes where we have to or we need to. But some people they like to look for the quick or the fast results or the tips, the tricks, and the truth is there really is none.
Right.
You just got to do the work.
Yeah, you got to put
and
the work in.
As long as you have a way to manage it, then that's the more things you manage and the more things you take control of, the easier the process will become. Not that the process in itself is easy, but the more tools that you have that you can refer to, that you can make changes to. Too many people will be like, oh yeah, I'm eating good. Well, what does that mean to you?
Right,
what does that
right.
look like?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm sleeping well. How many hours? Like,
Right.
Are you tracking your sleep? Do you feel lethargic when you wake up?
Facts.
Like to have both subjective and objective data points, essentially. So that's why having a trainer could be beneficial, but some people don't necessarily need one. They just need to be able to be accountable to what they're doing.
Accountability partner.
Yeah.
Correct.
Or not even necessarily a partner. They could be themselves. That's one of
Word.
the things that we talk about is that, as an individual who's seeking results or seeking some kind of behavioral change, you got to be holding yourself accountable and responsible at the same time, first and foremost.
Right.
And then you seek advice or help from others. But too many times I have people who will reach out to me and say, hey, what should I be eating for breakfast? I don't know. What do you like to eat for breakfast?
Yeah,
what should I have? you should have whatever you feel like you want to
Right.
have.
Food, like
Eat. I want you to eat, and then again, we'll make changes where we can.
Right.
But don't seek for me to tell you what to eat, because say, for example, 3 months, you find your goal, you no longer work with me.
Yeah.
You now then are responsible. Like, nobody's gonna walk hand in hand with you
Facts.
for the rest
Feed
of your
you.
life.
Right.
When you're at home a majority of the time, you're coming to me 1 time, 2 times a week. You know, yeah, you may have access to me, you may text me, you may give me a call.
Yep.
But like, essentially, you the one that gotta look in the mirror.
Facts.
Hold yourself accountable. So that's
Facts.
kind of what we try to hear too. We want to give the client, the individual, back their power.
Facts. So, one more question. So, you know, even with the pandemic, you know, happening last year, a lot of people believe that you have to use weights and physically be in the gym to get gains. So, can you get gains without weights?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of ways in which you can train in order for you to maintain and or build muscle. The tough part goes back to, again, is being able to manage it, right? So like, I think I've seen people who've done push-ups, right? So they'll do 3 sets of, say, 10, for example. This is at home. Perfect. But how do you progress that? Weights typically just as a tool that makes it easier for us to then progress the movement pattern, right? So like, if I'm bench pressing 135, it's way easier just to add another 5 pounds on each side.
Right.
If I'm doing push-ups, that then becomes a little harder because the stimulus, so the stimulus necessary for you to, or the intensity necessary for you to receive the appropriate stimulus in order for the muscles to grow may not be there unless you do another like 20 reps or so.
Facts.
And that then becomes tiring, time consuming. Like, how much more do you have to do to get a benefit?
Facts.
Next thing you know, you're doing 200, 300, 400 push-ups a day. That takes a long time. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Where, you know, if you're working out over an hour and a half or so, now you really got to question, is your program effective? You know what I'm saying? Is your time being spent well, et cetera, et cetera? So you can absolutely see gains. You can see growth. You can reach the aesthetic you're looking for without touching any kind of barbell or dumbbell or things like that.
Word.
You got people who practice calisthenics themselves, solely just calisthenics, who are jacked. You know what I'm saying? But that they do reps on reps on reps. Like, their volume, their frequency is very high. So it's really about, again, utilizing whatever tools that you have access to, and then finding a way to progress it that makes sense. Because sometimes some people try to jump. I got people who've come to me sedentary and go, I want to work out 5 days a week. Like, is that realistic? Like, again, some people have done it and they've been successful at it. So like, I don't put it past anyone to have the ability to. Yeah. But if that's the smartest move to do in the moment, probably not. You went from being sedentary to now trying to live a very active lifestyle. There's multiple things that aren't being considered. One, the time, the effort necessary. There's a lot of those things that people don't think about when partaking on that journey. You know what I'm saying? So I tell people, start with minimal effective dosage. What can you know that you can commit to in the short term that will allow results? The toughest part is it doesn't happen as fast, so that's usually where people fall off. Of course. The consistency, though, is the number. People are like, oh, what is the number one trick you could give to somebody? Being consistent. They're like, no, the exercise. Being consistent.
Facts.
You know, so it really just depends on the individual, what they have available, and the time they're willing to commit to the process.
Facts. Now, to wrap it around full circle, man. So, what kind of music do you listen to when you work out?
Oh, man.
Or let's go with.
I have a wide array.
Let's go with music. Who's the artist that you listen to? Let's start with the artist.
So here's the thing. I work out in silence sometimes.
Oh wow. Okay.
Sometimes I listen to heavy metal.
Okay.
Sometimes I listen to rap. So it really just depends on the day or the effort or what I need to call upon as I'm training. I will say though, majority of the time, if I'm lifting with a very high intensity, Shout out to Meek Mill, yo. He gets me through most of my workouts.
Yeah, he be yelling. So that's a good one.
And that's sometimes the energy that's needed of me to pull out in order for me to go into some of the deep dark moments of lifting.
Facts. So do you feel like even when you like work with your clients, you put on like certain music? Is music selection like a thing that kind of like makes people possibly like go harder or something like that? Or?
Yeah, there's definitely, and there's even like a science behind like the BPMs of songs,
Yep.
the tempo that keeps people engaged longer to have a more effective workout or whatever the case may be is. But here, sometimes it's silent in here. Sometimes we're playing 80s.
Yep.
Sometimes we're playing 90s. The other day, Backstreet Boys was playing. You know what I mean? So we're very eclectic here. We're very eclectic here.
And versatile and, open.
Yeah, so sometimes it depends on who's here. Whether it's the trainers who are just here working out, we'll play more upbeat. But we try to find somewhere in the middle where everyone can have some kind of an enjoyment of what's being played.
So do you have off the top of your head, do you got a favorite workout song right now off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head,
yeah,
not really.
Word.
Personally, I've been bumping a lot of Rick Ross lately.
Rick Ross a dude to you.
I feel like he's been my spiritual, my spirit animal.
Facts.
It's unfortunate that he had to switch from wings to thighs with the wing shortage.
That was crazy.
That hurt me.
That was crazy.
Team Flats, by the way.
Fun facts.
But yeah, I don't have any preferred kind of song right now. Anything that just kind of makes me go like this.
Word.
Will
That's
get me in the
vibe.
zone.
Yeah.
Is kind of where I'm going with it. Sometimes I listen to one of the things I got from one of my business partners, Jeff. Sometimes I listen to podcasts, bro. Sometimes because I realize sometimes time is not guaranteed. So
Facts.
My days run kind of crazy sometimes, and it'll be like a podcast that I want to listen to or something. So I have that playing in the background as I'm working out.
Word.
Definitely not if I'm going for any like PRs or any kind of crazy attempts. I'm not playing that.
Yeah, facts.
But
Facts.
it just really depends.
All right, so last question. So what is your favorite workout? You have any that you prefer to do?
I like to train everything from all angles. I do like to train heavy. My workouts now kind of consist of full body. I train about 4 times a week with resistance training with different goals. I do more of I would say a bodybuilding style without going too much into the science. At least twice a week, we're just kind of high volume, different angles. And then one side of the week, I train heavy. With talking about like 80% of like 80 to 90% of like the heaviest weight I've ever moved.
Facts.
So I'll train in that regards. If I had to go with my favorite lift, it's got to be, I don't even know, man. It really just depends.
This is in the back.
Sometimes I really want to say my favorite is my deadlift, but I have a love-hate relationship with it too. Because if it's a day where I'm not feeling my best and I'm not performing my best, I hate the deadlift.
Yep.
But I always make my way back home to it. So,
Word.
Deadlift would probably be my favorite movement. But always trying to find the way to challenge the body in different ways and understanding the science behind the movement patterns, the exercises, the weights being used. But yeah, man.
Speaking of science, so I got the Essentia here. Do you like vouch for any like water and like refueling yourself, or Essentia? If you want to sponsor this,
shameless plug.
Essentia.
Right. One day. No. All of it's kind of the same.
Word.
Really.
Water type thing.
It's apples and oranges. Sometimes people compare. I tell people because I had someone the other day. Hey, what is the best protein shake? I said whichever one that tastes the best to you. They all kind of they all kind of do the same thing.
Yep.
Some have small amount of ingredients that are different. But too many people seek for the best way to be quote unquote healthy.
Yeah.
And understanding that one is kind of it's a tough term to tackle. There's
Yep.
Healthy is going to be a journey. It's not an end goal.
Correct.
So it's what choices can you make that you could be proud of and that, like, you could sleep well at night.
Correct.
You know, some people be like, oh, I drink this for my health. Sure.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
if it works for you, sure.
Right.
Sometimes if you have a holistic diet, you're eating foods that are rich in nutrients, you're good to go. You're eating a lot of colorful veggies, lean
Right.
proteins.
Yep.
You're good to go. I think too many people try to optimize some of the small things and they're not taking care of I got too many people worried about supplements and they're not even tracking the nutrition.
Right.
Like, your supplements are doing probably nothing for you.
Yeah.
You know, taking in a bunch of vitamins that somebody told them they should be taking, but aren't eating or getting it from their whole meals.
Facts.
You're missing the point.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying? So it really depends, and that's why I was saying earlier, it really depends on the individual. Because some people will swear by it. I tell people, like, oh, I start taking fish oil and I never felt better. And I'm like, okay.
Sure.
if placebos are real.
Nah, for real.
Placebos are real.
For sure.
Because if you're eating fish adequately, you know, once, maybe twice a week, you could be getting all of the nutrients you need
In
from
the fish
that.
oil, yeah.
You don't need to supplement.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
If you're cooking with olive oil, you already have enough healthy fats. Like if you're or coconut oil, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But some people argue starches, and some people argue saturated fats versus unsaturated. It's apples and oranges again. Like
Right.
people be caring about the wrong stuff.
Facts.
Like, are you getting the appropriate amount of rest? Are you getting the appropriate amount of resistance training? Are you tracking your nutrition? Are you making sure that you're finding some time to build your own self-care?
Facts.
Cool. You're doing just fine. Keep it
going.
up.
Facts.
We support you.
Facts.
Like, that's really
Facts.
what it's about.
Word. All right, so on that note, man, so let people know where they could tap in with Kinetic Training and, you know, tap in and get a session with you or get more information.
You can find me. I'm on IG. I gotta find a better IG tag name, man.
Don't worry, I'm gonna roll it down here. I'm gonna roll it.
Yeah, right. Like,
it's gonna be right there.
It's Isaiah_L_Williams.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm corny with it, man.
We gotta work on that.
But the Kinetic Training page is Kinetic Training ED, and that's where we need to be at more.
Facts.
Posted some more content there, so definitely look out. We'll be posting some stuff, keep you guys updated on our own journey and transition.
Facts.
As far as services go, I'm pretty much kind of tapped out at the moment.
Yep.
As well as some of my business partners, but we do have our lovely trainers Zach and Tati who are seeking clients. So feel free to reach out to them. I don't remember their tags off the top of my head.
Just reach out through the page.
If y'all watching, I apologize.
Facts.
That's just not where my brain is.
Just reach out through the page for me, Kinetic Training ED.
Yeah, charge it to my head, not my heart.
Facts.
But yeah, we're always here for questions, comments, concerns, man. We really just want to put out information that's solid. You know what I'm saying? It's the hardest thing to do in the fitness industry with all the things that people have access to.
Yep.
Because sometimes they get access to information that they don't really or necessarily need. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I definitely feel like there's such
sometimes
thing as
it's too much
information. Exactly.
And they don't really need it. So our goal is to try to simplify it, is to try to condense it, to give it to the individuals so they can appropriately make their own decisions, because that's who it's up to.
Yep.
But whether it's trainers, whether it's clients, and just help people try to adopt and adapt to fitness as a lifestyle.
Facts. Well, yeah, man, it was a pleasure.
Yo, absolutely.
Long overdue interview.
I know, right,
feel
yo?
me?
We talked about it for a minute.
When it's meant to be, it shall be, and just went down for me. So make sure you check out my guy Zay. Check out Kinetic Training. And yeah, man, we are out of here. It's more than music. It's more than a brand. All that, man. It's your boy DJ Hollywood. Don't forget to 8. We out of here.
Yes, sir.